Yes.
Okay. So I have a letter Aunt Janie wrote when she determined that she probably wouldn't be here. And so I'm going to try to make it through this. Just bear with me. So it's called Facts from the Past by Mary Jane Rickerl. My dad, John Leo Lentz, was from the small town of Grand Junction, Iowa. He came to the Clinton area in search of a job and was employed at the Northwestern Railroad, where he continued to work for the rest of his days. My mother, Mary Jane Cook, attended St. Mary's School till the age of 16 when she quit to go to work and help her mother support her family of 6 girls. Her father died suddenly on a Christmas Eve after shoveling snow. Her mother was not well and a very bad diabetic. She was unable to work, but women with families of that time did not work outside the home. Mom worked at Woolworth's Five and Dime store as a piano player. People would come in and buy sheet music, and she would play the music for them. When World War I broke out, my dad had to join the Army. He served 1 year in France, working on the railroad, which carried the wounded men back to a hospital where they could get needed medical care. This was a 90-mile stretch of railroad near Verdun, France. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced. My parents were married after the war on September 1st, 1919. Dad was 32 and Mom 27 at that time. Eventually, they bought my grandmother's house from her and moved into 312 14th Avenue South. And that's where the story of the 4 Lentz children were born and grew up. We all went to St. Mary's School for 12 years. Our childhood lives were uneventful. My brothers, Lou and Jean, both enjoyed Boy Scouts. I could remember them with their scout neckerchief and the special knife and learning to tie knots with rope. This made them seem a lot older. 1 year for Christmas, Lou got a bike and then took on an early morning newspaper route. I can still remember my mom trying to wake him up to do his job before school. He was a very deep sleeper. I don't know how he ever got up any morning. School never seemed to bother Lou. I didn't remember him doing any homework at all, but he always got through okay. He seemed to do real well in typing and shorthand, which seemed to be unusual for a boy. When he entered the Navy, that was the same kind of work he had to do. One time in his late teen years, he got a very sore foot and could hardly walk with the pain. He had a nest of warts on the sole of his foot and had to have them cut out. I think that's when he gave up his paper route. My brother Gene, at one time in high school, developed a bad infection in both feet. He had a pair of white shoes that he had dyed brown. The doctor thought the dye went into his bloodstream, causing the infection. He had to miss several days of school because he didn't get shoes on. He couldn't get his shoes on. I was afraid he might not graduate, but eventually he did. When Lou graduated from high school, he went to work at O'Neill's plumbing shop. Gene went to work at the Northwestern Railroad shops, cleaning out boxcars that were being repaired. Soon World War II broke out, the year Gene and I graduated. Of course, that meant that so many boys enlisted into the service or were drafted. My brothers both joined the Navy and spent many years working for Uncle Sam. Lou was on a submarine and Gene was a minesweeper. My sister Ellen was also enlisted in the Navy Wives after graduation. At that time, the Navy was encouraging many girls to join. She was sent to New York by train. After training and marching, she was given a uniform and was told she would be working in a hospital. The summer heat caused her to faint many times while marching. This led to the discovery of a heart murmur and then to a medical discharge. Ellen was always a very weak child. In the summer months, she used to faint at church a lot. There were times she had to stay down and rest. I can remember my dad even cried when he said how weak and thin she was. I always admire her for trying to do a good thing. When I was in high school, I worked hard to do all the assignments. The nuns really poured their homework on us, and I hated it, but I did it. After working hard to get it all finished, then Gene copied it over for himself. One beautiful thing we had at our church every year in May was the May crowning ceremony. All the students took part, singing many beautiful songs. The senior girls would wear formals, and one girl was chosen as May Queen, and would get place the crown of flowers on the statue of the Blessed Mother. That year I got to be the attendant to hand her the crown. It was an honor for me, and I will always remember it. St. Mary's had no activities like sports or PE for girls, which made school very boring. As a young kid, I used to love to swim, so I spent a lot of time at the pool. As a teenager, I loved to go to the skate rink. I also loved to dance. We used to go up to Eagle Point Park on Sundays, where they had a dance floor and a jukebox. We did a lot of dancing and met a lot of nice kids. During World War II, Clinton built a big army hospital. It went up quickly. Our town suddenly had a lot of young soldiers here that took the place of our own men who were drafted. Ellen and I were both going with a soldier named Paul. It seemed so funny that we talked about them to each other, your Paul, my Paul. Now would you like to know how I met my own husband? He was home from leave from the Navy in 1943. I knew his family because of a couple of them went to St. Mary's School when I was there. He came down to see my mother one night, and I didn't know why. Many exclamation points, by the way. My girlfriend and I were doing up some curtains for my mom. My hair was in pin curls since I had just washed it. I was wearing bib overalls that I had worn to work, and I looked like hell. I talked to him briefly, but I let him talk to my mom because I thought that's what he was there for. I knew his mom and mine were friends through the Navy Mothers Club at the time. When he left, I opened the door for him, and he asked me out for the next night. When we went back to the Navy, when he went back to the Navy, we corresponded a lot. We were married November 20th, 1945. Life went on for many years. We have 6 children, 5 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren.
You can do it.
Let's just have a commercial break. So now, as the sun slowly sets and the stars begin to shine in the sky, I must bid you all farewell. It's time for my eyes to lose their lights. Oh, I can't read it anymore. And the fire in my soul to slowly burn out. But before I go, I want you all to know how much I love you. You are all doing well, and your parents must be so proud of all your efforts. I am so glad God gave you to me to be my own family. My words of advice to you are this. Go Lentz, go Lentz, go Lentz, rah, rah, rah. I have a new special song that I loved, and when I hear it, it reminds me of the only thing I stand for that is real and good. I think I heard Perry Como or Andy Williams sing it, and it is I Believe. If you hear it, maybe you will think of me and say a little prayer for me. And as the story comes to a close, we all know those famous 2 words, the end. Aunt Janie.